Have you ever met someone who looked wealthy from a distance? The luxury car, the designer clothes, the expensive vacations, the constant talk about money. And for a moment, you assume they've figured something out that you haven't. Maybe they're successful. Maybe they're financially free. Maybe they're living the life everyone wants. Then, months later, you discover something surprising. The car is heavily financed. The vacations went on a credit card. The designer items were purchased to impress people they don't even like. And despite looking rich, they're constantly stressed about money. It's a strange phenomenon, because in today's world, looking wealthy has become easier than actually becoming wealthy. In fact, for many people, the appearance of wealth has become more important than wealth itself. And that's where the problem begins. Because real wealth and fake wealth often look identical from the outside, at least initially. The expensive watch doesn't tell you someone's net worth. The luxury apartment doesn't reveal their savings account. The sports car doesn't show you their investment portfolio. What you see is the visible part. What you don't see is the financial reality underneath. And sometimes those two things are completely different. That's why one of the most important financial skills isn't learning how to spot rich people. It's learning how to spot fake rich people. Because fake wealth isn't just something other people do. It's a trap almost anyone can fall into. The moment your financial decisions become focused on appearances instead of outcomes, you're entering dangerous territory. And the scary part? Modern culture quietly encourages it. Every day we're shown carefully curated lifestyles, perfect vacations, luxury purchases, high-end experiences. The message is subtle but powerful. Look successful, look wealthy, look important. But very few people ask the obvious question. What if looking rich is preventing people from actually becoming rich? Once you understand that question, everything starts to change. And the first sign becomes impossible to ignore. Someone who is fake rich constantly talks about money. This sounds backwards at first. Shouldn't wealthy people talk about money? Sometimes. But truly wealthy people usually don't feel a constant need to advertise it. Think about it. When someone is genuinely confident about something, they rarely need validation from strangers. But when someone feels uncertain, they often seek confirmation. That's why you'll occasionally meet someone who finds a way to mention money in every conversation. The expensive dinner, the luxury purchase, the business deal, the income figure, the VIP experience. Somehow, every topic circles back to status. At first, it can sound impressive. Then you start noticing a pattern. The conversation isn't really about sharing experiences. It's about broadcasting success. Imagine sitting with someone at a restaurant. Nobody asked about their car, yet somehow the car becomes the topic. Nobody asked about their vacation, yet somehow the vacation becomes the topic. Nobody asked about their income, yet somehow the income becomes the topic. It's as if they're constantly trying to convince everyone around them of something. And often, they're trying to convince themselves too. Because real confidence tends to be quiet. Insecurity tends to be loud. Money follows a similar pattern. The second sign is even more common. Their lifestyle improves faster than their finances. Most people assume wealth is about spending. But wealth is actually about ownership. You become wealthier when you own more valuable assets, not when you display more expensive liabilities. Fake rich people often confuse these two things. The moment their income increases, their lifestyle immediately expands. A raise arrives. The apartment gets upgraded. The car gets upgraded. The wardrobe gets upgraded. The vacations get upgraded. Everything improves at the same speed as income, sometimes even faster. From the outside, it appears they're moving up financially. But beneath the surface, something different is happening. Their expenses are chasing their income, and expenses are surprisingly fast runners. Many people spend years increasing their earnings only to discover they never feel financially secure. Why? Because every dollar earned immediately receives a job. Not investing, not saving, not building wealth, spending. And eventually they find themselves earning more money than ever before while still feeling trapped. That's one of the strangest financial experiences a person can have. Looking successful while feeling stressed. Looking wealthy while living paycheck to paycheck. Looking rich while secretly worrying about every unexpected expense. The third sign is subtle. They care deeply about being seen. This doesn't mean enjoying nice things. There's nothing wrong with enjoying nice things. The difference lies in motivation. Why are they buying it? That's the important question. Imagine two people buying the exact same luxury watch. One purchases it because they genuinely appreciate watches. The other purchases it because they hope strangers notice. Same product, completely different psychology. Fake wealth is often driven by external validation. Real wealth is usually driven by internal priorities. That's why fake rich people tend to make financial decisions with an audience in mind. What will people think? Will this impress them? Will this elevate my status? Will this make me appear successful? The hidden cost of these questions is enormous, because once social approval becomes the goal, spending becomes endless. There's always a bigger house, a newer car, a better vacation, a more expensive restaurant, a higher status symbol. The finish line keeps moving, and that's exactly why so many people become trapped in a lifestyle they can barely afford. The fourth sign is something you rarely notice immediately. They have expensive things, but very little financial flexibility. This is one of the biggest differences between fake rich and genuinely wealthy people. Financial flexibility. Real wealth creates options. Fake wealth creates obligations. Think about someone with a luxury lifestyle funded by debt. Every month, payments arrive. Car payments, credit card payments, personal loan payments, lifestyle payments. Their future income is already committed before they earn it. From the outside, everything appears impressive. Inside, they're running on a financial treadmill, constantly moving, never truly free. Now compare that to someone whose lifestyle appears relatively ordinary. No flashy purchases, no obvious status symbols, no dramatic displays of success. Yet they have substantial savings, investments, emergency funds, business ownership, assets generating income. One person appears richer. The other actually is richer. And that's a distinction many people don't learn until much later in life. Because wealth isn't measured by what you show. It's measured by what you own. The fifth sign is one of the easiest to miss because modern culture has normalized it. They use debt to create an identity. Debt itself isn't automatically bad. Businesses use debt. Investors use debt. Homeowners use debt. The issue isn't debt. The issue is the purpose behind it. Fake rich people often borrow money not to create future value, but to create a present image. And those are very different goals. Imagine someone walking into a dealership. They don't ask what fits comfortably within their financial situation. They ask what monthly payment they can somehow manage. That's a completely different mindset. One question is focused on ownership. The other is focused on appearance. The problem is that monthly payments can disguise reality. A luxury car that costs far more than someone should reasonably spend suddenly feels affordable when reduced to a monthly number. The same thing happens with designer clothing, expensive furniture, luxury apartments, premium vacations. The payment becomes visible. The total cost becomes invisible. And that's where many people get trapped, because fake wealth thrives on short-term thinking. If someone can enjoy the image today and worry about the consequences later, the temptation becomes powerful, especially when social approval is involved. Think about the emotional experience. Someone drives home in a luxury vehicle. Friends are impressed. Family members compliment them. Strangers notice. For a moment, they feel successful, but eventually the excitement fades. The payment remains. The maintenance remains. The insurance remains. The financial pressure remains. This is one of the cruelest aspects of status spending. The emotional reward is temporary. The financial obligation is not. And over time, many fake rich people find themselves working harder and harder simply to maintain an image they no longer enjoy. The sixth sign is increasingly common in the social media era. Their lifestyle exists primarily online. You've probably seen this before. Someone appears to live an incredible life. Luxury restaurants, exotic vacations, expensive purchases, constant celebrations. Every photo looks perfect. Every moment looks exciting. Every post suggests abundance. Then reality tells a different story. What social media rarely shows is the credit card statement, the financial anxiety, the unpaid debt, the stress behind the scenes, the argument about money, the lack of savings, the missed investment opportunities, the financial insecurity hidden beneath carefully edited images. The fascinating thing is that social media has changed the economics of status. Years ago, status was mostly displayed to people physically around you. Today, status can be displayed to thousands of people instantly. which means the incentive to appear wealthy has become stronger than ever. An appearance is often much cheaper than actual wealth. A luxury rental can look like ownership. A first-class seat can be photographed without showing it was purchased with debt. A hotel lobby can create the illusion of a lifestyle that doesn't actually exist. This isn't about judging anyone. It's about understanding the difference between perception and reality. Because fake wealth depends on perception, real wealth survives reality. The seventh sign is surprisingly psychological. They fear ordinary living. That may sound strange, but think about it. Many fake rich people become uncomfortable doing things that seem normal. They don't want the ordinary restaurant. They want the expensive restaurant. They don't want the practical option. They want the impressive option. They don't want the reliable car. They want the attention-grabbing car. Why? Because ordinary feels like failure. And that's where the trap becomes dangerous. Somewhere along the way, they stopped viewing money as a tool. They started viewing it as evidence of personal worth. Once that happens, spending becomes emotional. Every purchase becomes symbolic. Every financial decision becomes tied to identity. And identity is expensive when you're constantly trying to prove something. Imagine two friends. Both receive a significant income increase. One immediately upgrades everything. The other upgrades almost nothing. The first friend feels wealthy because life looks different. The second friend becomes wealthy because finances become different. 5 years later, the outcomes can be dramatically different. Yet, in the beginning, the first friend often appears more successful. That's what makes fake wealth so deceptive. It creates immediate visual results. Real wealth creates delayed results. Human beings naturally notice immediate results more easily. The eighth sign is one of the biggest. They have impressive income, but little ownership. Many people confuse high income with wealth. They're related, but they're not the same thing. A person can earn an enormous income and still have very little wealth. Why? Because income is what comes in. Wealth is what stays. Imagine someone earning $250,000 per year. Sounds impressive. Now imagine they spend nearly all of it. Luxury housing, luxury transportation, luxury experiences, luxury everything. At the end of the year, very little remains. Now compare that to someone earning significantly less but consistently acquiring assets, investments, businesses, savings, property, ownership. 5 years pass. 10 years pass. The second person may end up financially stronger despite earning less, because wealth isn't built by income alone. It's built by what income becomes. This is why truly wealthy people often ask different questions. They don't simply ask, "Can I afford this?" They ask, "What does this cost me in future opportunities?" That's a powerful question, because every dollar spent has an alternative future. Every purchase competes with potential investments. Every lifestyle upgrade competes with future freedom. Fake rich people rarely think this way. Real wealthy people often do. The ninth sign reveals itself during financial setbacks. They have no margin for error. Life is unpredictable. Unexpected expenses happen. Economic downturns happen. Business problems happen. Job losses happen. Emergencies happen. The difference between fake wealth and real wealth often becomes visible during difficult periods. When everything is going well, appearances can be maintained. When challenges arrive, reality emerges. Someone living at the edge of their financial capacity has very little room to maneuver. One unexpected event creates panic. One major expense creates stress. One income disruption creates crisis. Meanwhile, someone with genuine financial strength may still face difficulties, but they have options. And options are incredibly valuable. This is one reason why many wealthy people seem less stressed about money. Not because problems disappear, because margin exists. They have breathing room. Fake rich people often sacrifice that breathing room for appearances, and the trade-off becomes visible when life becomes difficult. Then we arrive at the 10th sign, perhaps the most revealing sign of all. They want to look rich more than they want to become rich. This is the core issue underneath everything we've discussed. It's not really about cars, or clothes, or vacations, or houses. It's about priorities. Where's the energy going? Where is the attention going? Where are the financial decisions pointing? Toward appearance or toward ownership? Toward validation or toward freedom? Toward impressing others or strengthening your future? These questions matter because the two paths often lead in opposite directions. One path generates admiration. The other generates assets. One path creates the appearance of success. The other creates actual financial security. And here's the irony. Many genuinely wealthy people don't look wealthy at all. They drive practical vehicles, live below their means, avoid unnecessary attention, focus on ownership rather than display. If you met them, you might never guess their financial situation. That's because their goal isn't to communicate wealth. Their goal is to build it. And that's the realization that changes everything. The opposite of fake rich isn't poor. The opposite of fake rich is financially secure. A person doesn't need luxury items to be wealthy. A person doesn't need strangers to be impressed. A person doesn't need status symbols to have financial freedom. What they need is ownership, patience, consistency, and the ability to separate appearance from reality. Because at the end of the day, wealth isn't about what people think you have. It's about what you actually have. It's about the freedom to make choices without constant financial pressure. It's about having options when life becomes uncertain. It's about creating a future that's stronger than your present. And perhaps that's the biggest lesson of all. The people who spend the most energy trying to look rich often delay becoming rich, while the people quietly building wealth are usually too busy creating financial freedom to spend much time advertising it. And 5, 10, or 20 years later, that's when the difference becomes impossible to ignore.